Okay, I think we're already started. I'm just making sure, covering things on my end. This is Let's Talk About Taurus. What's in it for me? I have Riley co-hosting again. I know some of you maybe in the other video that I had put up for premiere or upcoming premiere. I just have that up for notification, but obviously because it's Zoom, we're doing Zoom, I'm going to delete. So whoever said hi to me, I think I might have seen Taylor Wilson. Taylor, thank you for stopping by. I'm going to delete that video, and I am right now on another video. This is because I'm on Zoom, okay? So I'm just getting things worked out on my end, my loves. And then I could see you on the chat room. And there I am. Say hi, Riley.
How's everybody doing?
All right, Riley. So we're going to talk about the second house. Okay. That's what we're doing today. I have Riley here because he's so informative when it comes to astrology, the horoscope, zodiac. Last time we were talking about Aries. Okay, so that was pretty cool. How did you feel about that last video we did?
I enjoyed it. I think that it was, honestly, it was kind of challenging in the sense of talking about yourself from an identity perspective. Because you don't want to be too personal, but you are an Aries. I mean, I am an Aries, I should say. So I had to be objective and subjective at the same time. Worked it out.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. I think because you was an Aries, because you are an Aries, it worked out. Because I honestly, I remember seeing the chat room and I saw a lot of people just really resonating with what you said, you know, and that was amazing because you really broke it down into, you know, a place where people really never see Aries as far as, you know, the usual, like, oh, well, Aries is like this and Aries is like that. So you honestly, you broke it down to a point where people may understand Aries a little better,
Right.
even better, even more so, where people could understand where Aries, people that have Aries in their chart or sun natives, specifically if you're a sun in Aries, you could understand your behavior and yourself more.
Right.
So I thought that went well. But we're here to talk about Taurus, the second house. Taurus, the second house, you do represent income, self-discovery, self-esteem. But most of all, let's talk a little bit about income, because I thought this was a pretty interesting part, just because, you know, people want to make money. You're here to make money, to have some type of goal. Now, the way it works in your chart, in case you're ever wondering, what is good for me, what is my birth chart saying, Leonore? Where can I make money? Sometimes your career chooses you, and sometimes you choose your career. Okay. With that being said, some people don't have Taurus in their chart. For example, I don't have Taurus in my chart. So even though Taurus represents income, you may want to know, besides your North Node, where is the house of income? Where in the zodiac sign, which house does it represent in your birth chart, the income sector of your birth chart? I always tell people to look at the Venus. If you look at everybody has a Venus placement. For example, where is your Venus placement, Riley?
Taurus.
Oh, your Venus is in the home sign of Taurus. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what that means is that Venus represents both Libra and Taurus. Okay, so now you're going to have to look at the planet because it represents both Venus and Taurus.
Mm-hmm.
So which means you have both, you have the house of income in the seventh house, which is all about partnerships, relationships. So your job may require for you to be in interpersonal relationships because the seventh house represents interpersonal relationships and partnerships. So your income may stem from interpersonal relationships at your job. And that can mean anything. If you have, let's say you have Venus in the third house. I had somebody earlier say where I have no Virgo in my chart. And I said, no, yes, you do. You have Virgo in your chart. So I asked her where her Mercury was because Mercury represents Venus. I'm sorry, Mercury represents Gemini. So, and Virgo. So that automatically, because she said she had Mercury in already Mercury in her I'm going on a tangent here about second house about the birth chart, but I need you guys to understand that the house of income is anywhere where your Venus placement is. So I had to let her know that, even though we have empty houses, I don't have Capricorn in my chart, but does that mean that I don't have Capricorn in my chart? Yes, it does. If you have, let's say, I'm give another example and then I'm going to move on. Let's say you have Venus in the 8th house, Venus in Scorpio. Okay. Venus in Scorpio is what does Scorpio represent? Now, Scorpio represents unknown, the mystery. It represents transformation, sex. Okay. So now you have to look at where is Pluto in your chart. So that house, you're automatically the eighth house is automatically in Taurus, or should I say Scorpio is in the second house. So because you have Venus in Scorpio, I'm going to do this really slow. Because you have Venus in Scorpio, this is an example. Venus in Scorpio automatically means that you have your second house is in Scorpio. So your job may be a CIA agent, a detective, FBI, maybe even a prostitute. That is your house of income. Okay, I'll give one more example and then I'll move on because I can't help it. The 12th house. Let's talk about the 12th house. Where is your Venus? If your Venus is in the 12th house, if your Venus is in Pisces, where is your income? Okay, so Neptune represents the 12th house. Neptune represents Pisces. So and I'm going with Venus. Understand that I'm talking about Venus because Venus rules Taurus. Venus rules Taurus. So I have to go back to the second house, which rules Taurus as well as Libra. But I'm talking about income. So if your Venus is in Pisces, it means that you're probably going to be a shaman, okay? Because now you have Pisces in the second house. And what does Pisces represent? Shamanistic magicians, also drug dealers. You may be a drug dealer. You may also work with people who have abusive trauma, abusive past, whether it's violent abusive past. Does that make sense, Riley? Am I making sense?
Makes sense to me.
It makes sense to you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I want people to realize, that about the second house in their birth chart, which is the house of income. Okay. Now, moving on to Taurus. Now, Taurus are determined people. I think they're pretty much determined people, but people also say that Taurus can be stubborn, Taurus can be lazy. There is a stigma behind Taurus being stubborn and lazy. But what is your, like, what do you agree? What is your opinion about that stigma behind Taurus?
I think in regards to Taurus, it's more or less about they're not the most proficient starters, but they are excellent and probably the best finishers. So it's not that I wouldn't want to go as far as to say that they're lazy. It's just that when they get started, that level of tenacity, it's probably the best, one of the best at all the zodiac signs. Because you have to remember, Taurus being an earth sign and being not only an earth sign, it's considered Mother Earth. It deals with a certain level of consistency and predictability. Um, so they're not as flashy and flamboyant as the other signs, but they have a certain level of dependability you can get from them, like the Earth. You know, you have 12 months, 4 seasons. You know, the Earth runs on a certain cycle of discipline. And, you know, it's kind of mundane in a way. So that's why it probably may say people say Taurus are boring, but they're really not. They're consistent. It is they have their own way of doing things, you know. But it is an earth sign, and they like earthly things, as you said previously, money. Taurus taps into the senses of the human beings: smell, taste, physical touch. Those things ignite and inspire Taurus. So when those things happen, I'm gonna give you another example. Taurus represents the bull, right?
Yes.
What does it have when a bull sees red? It charges it. Colors and things. Taurus, the way they operate off the senses and smell and taste of things are very. That's their thing. That's what motivates them. That's their earthy things, flowers. You know, the not so, this everything to do with the world, earthy stuff, money, sex, colors, taste, food. That's the Taurus zone. Yes, they are stubborn, but they have to be stubborn in the sense of they represent Earth can't afford to just do what it wants to do. It has to stay locked in because it obeys a certain law. And so it's going to be very consistent in how it does things.
Yes, I agree with you. Also, Taurus represents self-esteem. It represents self-discovery. It is the second house. So after Aries is Taurus. So if you put into perspective, Taurus is more like the little after Aries is being the baby that we were talking about. Aries, the baby, last week, and we were trying to put the pieces of the puzzles together, and the science behind being Aries being called the baby, where Taurus is now getting more comfortable with its environment. It's blanky. It's little pacifier. It's bottle. Its bottle needs to be at a certain time. So if they don't have their bottle at a certain time, so food, like you said, the senses, taste, sight, hearing, all those things come to a baby after they've been born. So after Aries, Taurus becomes more to be like we call it the terrible twos or something like that?
Terrible too, because remember it's fixed. It's a fixed Earth sign. So being as fixed Earth, no means no. Terrible twos. No, I'm gonna set this. I'm gonna be consistently consistent. You want to hear something real quick?
Yes.
Okay, so second house, right, is Taurus, right? Now, how many in a day, right? A complete cycle is really not 24 hours. It's 23 hours, 56 minutes, and 4 seconds. If you add all that up, those numbers together, you get 2.
Interesting.
And that's why Taurus is considered the Earth Mother or the Earth Goddess.
Yes.
There's no
Right.
coincidence in their science. It's fixed, and I think that's why, but like all things, positive and negative, and I think that's where we can get into the Taurus sometimes doesn't not as flexible. It's not a mutable sign. It's fixed. You know, um, and sometimes it can be a little possessive, overly possessive. It can get a little greedy, because sometimes it overindulges. That's when it operates off of a negative vibration. But when it's a positive vibration, it pretty much is dependable. If you have a business, I recommend. I mean, honestly, to be honest with you, not to play favorites, but if you're owning a company, want to run a company, I recommend having earth signs, period. But definitely having the Taurus, because
Yeah.
they will be consistent.
Yes.
Most earth signs, Capricorn, Virgo, and Taurus, they tend to follow a routine and schedule.
Yes. Yes. Well, that's basically the determination that I was talking about earlier. They are determined people in,
Right.
in every aspect. And yes, they do. They have amazing work ethics. Um, Also just Taurus starts with internal ego. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Understand that your ego begins with Taurus, with
Mm-hmm.
the zodiac sign Taurus.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, the second house represents psychology. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The second house also represents right or wrong actions. So a
Mm-hmm.
baby will know at this time when is the right or wrong actions, because
Mm-hmm.
mommy and daddy will keep saying no, no, no. And
Mm-hmm.
at that time, their psychology builds up. They get to know
Mm-hmm.
who they are internally. Can they get away with this? Can they not get away with this? This is where narcissistic behavior begins, in the second house of Taurus.
Mm-hmm.
Narcissistic meaning having interest in oneself.
Mm-hmm.
Leo, it peaks at Leo, which is the fifth house. It's just the second fixed house of the zodiac wheel. So narcissistic behavior peaks in the fifth house of Leo. By the time we get to Scorpio and Aquarius, they already mastered narcissistic behavior. Um, and let me know, anybody in the chat room, if you've dealt with anybody that has narcissistic behavior, or even if you've dealt with a Taurus, if you have any input in the zodiac sign Taurus, let me know in the chat room. We'll be more than happy to answer your questions or any concerns. But also, going back to narcissistic behavior, like Scorpio, who is the polar opposite of Taurus, if psychology starts in the second house, it already is mastered in the sign of Scorpio, which is the polar opposite. By the time it hits Aquarius just represents anything that has to do with the psycho-emotional, psychosocial, psychology. So they've mastered all this to the point where their ego is pretty much, they say Aquarius doesn't, a high vibrational Aquarius won't be a narcissist, number one. A high vibrational Taurus will not be a narcissist. A high vibrational Leo and a high vibrational Scorpio will not be a narcissist. So let me get that straight. I don't want to offend anyone who have those placements in their chart. I'm not saying that these people with these fixed signs have narcissistic behavior. A low vibrational person will. a low vibrational person will. But understand that the houses, these zodiac signs represents ego and narcissistic behavior.
Right.
So it is the narcissistic tree of the zodiac sign, starting with Taurus. Is there anything you want to say about that?
I mean, I totally agree. As far as vibration is concerned, Taurus, you know, they can pick up those traits. Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. No,
Yeah.
I don't have to add on too much to that. You know, that's on point.
Yes. But the ego does begin. The ego does begin with Taurus, and it ends with Scorpio.
Mm-hmm.
And then it becomes very high. I don't want to say high vibrational with Aquarius, but more like divine, like the ego already has shed. It starts shedding at Scorpio, and then by the time we get to the last fixed sign of Aquarius, there is no ego. Again, I'm talking about low vibrational. I'm not talking about low vibrational people, because it does, but self-esteem does start with Taurus. But again, you had mentioned the senses, because Taurus does rule the five senses. So taste, vision, smell, touch, all those things are important to Taurus. Beauty, so the eyes, the aesthetic, they need to have why is it, do you feel like sometimes Taurus can be pretty shallow?
Well, I think me and you might have a little bit of disagreements in that regard. As far as I think that the Taurus is not so much shallow. I think they're more or less possessive in physical things. Does that mean shallow? They're like, it's first cousins to shallow, in the sense of, I don't, in my interpretation of the Taurus being shallow, I think it's like you said, it's more or less the potential, the narcissist potential in them, or the me. I don't want to do this, but I don't know. I find Taurus to take you as you are, and they make a choice. If they don't want to be involved, they don't be involved with you. If you want, remember, the Taurus is fixed. So when they make up their mind, they're not interested. They're just not interested. They're very black and white. They're not all over the place, when it comes to certain things. It's either they're in or they're out. Either they're interested or they're not. They're not like, the other signs that may try to, like a Pisces, who may try to just explore and give it. Taurus is pretty much is simple, you know. But the irony of their simplicity is that they're simple in conjunction to a complexity. And I think that's where they can fool people. It's not that they are not, analytical, or they're not into that. They just want things to be simple and to be laid out, and then they make a decision from there. Because once a Taurus is attracted to you and the whole world says you're not attracted to them, they're not going to change how they see you. And that's why I don't agree with them being shallow. Libra is a different conversation. But the Taurus, being that it's fixed Earth, what's pretty to them may not be pretty to anybody else, but to them it doesn't matter. They appreciate it. So the more consistent you are, the more you appeal to their senses, the more you will attract a Taurus person.
So you think Taurus men, Let's talk about Taurus men, because I'm a
Sure,
woman, so I'm going to talk about Taurus men. Do you
sure.
think Taurus men are more into the beauty of a woman physique, and if so, what type of look are they looking for? What do Taurus men look for in a woman when it comes to their looks?
Good question. Now, remember, we have to keep everything in perspective because it is ruled by Venus, and Venus is a planet of beauty. And I know where you're going because Libra's also ruled by Venus. So like, how can they be different? But you're dealing with cardinal and you air, and you're dealing with fixed Earth. Um, so the difference is the Venus is attracted to beauty, but they're not a slave to it in that regard. They're just they embody it. You know, they can walk by uh, uh, um, scents and smells that would trigger them. You know, so it's not so much that that they are like they're attracted to things that are just that we on Earth will probably we might walk by a rose bush and be like, oh, rose bush, nice, but they might be like, yo, that's they might really you know look at it, dynamic, smell, aesthetics of it. Taurus men, you know, cologne, um, you know, they'll probably have a cologne. They take a Taurus cologne collection. It will probably be top notch. You know, um, just that overall style. Women too, perfume. You know, so I think they are attracted to beautiful things. You know, I just don't think they're shallow to it.
So it has to appeal to their senses. I kind of see it sometimes that way.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Do you feel like
Mm-hmm.
it has to appeal to, how cooked the woman, I mean, how good the woman cooks?
Yes, of course.
um, right?
Mm-hmm. Because once again, the palate, you know, if you can appeal to a tourist's senses, you're in a pretty good position, you know. And then from there, they begin to let you in to their world. You know, you got to remember something, just to go back to the planet. Venus and Earth are very similar in the sense of mass, in the sense of gravity and radius. You know, they're different in a lot of other ways as far as heat in Earth because Venus is like 185 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're not, but as far as certain core principles, they have a very similar way. They're almost similar in size. So when Venus rules Earth, you can see the connection between beauty and nice things. If you really want to tap into a Taurus, you got to get into physical senses. Some other signs, you can use your brain and, like a Gemini, intellectual, Aquarius. It's not that this Taurus is not intelligent, but I'm not going to say that because if anything, they're the most practical. They're not going to go all over the whole universe and try to analyze the Milky Way and the galaxy and all types of physics. Nah. They keep it simple. KIS. And that practicality keeps them grounded. So when everybody else is all over the place, they have a disciplined mindset. If you look at, a lot of people who are in sports, they have a lot of people who or people in movies or anything that requires tenacity, you will find it in the Taurus. Because they keep it simple. I'm going to get up 5 a.m. Now, I said previously, they may be slow starters, but when they get started, they're going to finish.
I see. So you know what you just reminded me of? You reminded me of me. I might not be good with a Taurus because I've dated a couple of people, maybe more, I don't know. But I do remember dating a couple of people with either Sun in Taurus or Venus in Taurus. something of a significant placement. And sometimes it puzzles me because you're right. It's that simplicity. They look for simple things in life. They don't like complications. Now, pulling from the polar opposite of Taurus is Scorpio, who is the house of extremes, who's the house of pain and pleasure, who's the house of complexity. So here it is. We have Taurus, who is just simple, deals with the senses, and then we have the polar opposite, the sister house of Taurus, which is Scorpio. And I like, my father was a Taurus, and I'm a Scorpio. We used to bump heads a lot. Why do you think that the polar opposite would bump heads like that, specifically with Taurus and Scorpio?
Well, the one thing about your shadow sign is it's just that the shadow is a reflection of you, but it's not identical to you. And sometimes with your shadow or your opposite, however you want to call it, the reason why I call it the shadow is because there is a piece of Scorpio and Taurus and a piece of Taurus and Scorpio. And sometimes you can remind each other of the thing they need to work on by being your opposite. So maybe the complexity that they needed, you had, and they may needed to be a little bit more complex and they were too simple. So sometimes that push, that bumping heads, is actually the reflection in the mirror of each other, you know. Because remember something, Taurus and Scorpio are one of the few, one of the few opposites that actually can get along long term in personal relationships, you know, because you're dealing with earth and you're dealing with water. So you got to look at your shadow as always a reminder of what's there, you know, and sometimes, you know, like it's your opposite, like it's almost like it's like. Hello?
Yes, I'm here. You went
I
out for a little bit.
apologize.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Riley, you seem to have been gone. You're out. You are out. Is there any way you could come back, Riley? Come back to me, Riley. All right. Well, I'm going to end the show here anyway. I think that we talked a lot about Taurus. I wanted to get into the polar opposite, which Riley did a good job anyway. But thank you for those who joined me live. And if you have any questions, let me know. We would love to do keep this going as far as the astrology. Next is Gemini, so we're going to talk about Gemini. Riley, is that you there?
Yeah, I couldn't hear you. You blacked out for a minute, but I'm back and I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. I was about to end the show because I think you did an amazing job talking about Taurus, but did you want to finish up with the polar opposite of Scorpio, or are you okay?
Well, I think that because Scorpio and Taurus are opposites, I think that, well, let's keep in mind one thing. See, Venus is the third planet from the sun, but the way it's designed, it has a global, it traps heat. It has a whole bunch of carbon dioxide. It's like a greenhouse effect. So Venus actually traps heat. So even though it's not as far, it's not as close as Mercury, it's hotter. Venus is the hottest planet in the solar system. I'm saying that to say that I'm not in any way, shape, or form calling Taurus, like kind of like, no, they have a temper.
They do have a temper. What's up with that temper?
Well, I just explained because of Venus. Venus is a very hot planet. Venus always gets credit. Remember, Venus represents also a veil. Remember, because Venus has that cloud that covers it. It's a very cloudy planet too, and it, like I said, it traps this heat. So it may not look like, but you can't even put anything on Venus. You can't. People have even NASA. They can't even put anything on Venus that sustains this. Remember, it's 185 degrees Fahrenheit. It's a very hot planet. It storms. It rotates backwards. All the planets don't. It rotates backwards. So it does. It's different. So with that being said, it's hot. But because it's Earth, because Taurus is an Earth sign. There's beauty in it, but there's a certain underground temper. And I think that you don't see it but because Taurus, like I said, for the third time, they can be slow starters. So they may be patient. So when you push them, they can tolerate. But when they get to that point, when they're no longer tolerating it, the fix comes in, and the fix is going to be on you. And that anger, and at 885 degrees Fahrenheit, you will feel.
Yes, yes, you're right.
Right, and it's not that like when I said previously that Taurus can be possessive, they're not possessive in the sense of insecurity. Their jealousy may not come from insecurity. No. Their jealousy comes from disrespect. Because if I am Taurus and I am dependable, and I am tenacious, and I am pretty much mundane, and what you see, what you get, because I am simple, KIS, keeping it simple, and you violate that simplicity and take advantage of me, then I have to show you what's really in me.
So yeah, I agree with you. Like, I've seen Tauruses be very patient. They're I think Taurus, I don't know what other sign is just as patient as Taurus. I want to say Cancer, but not really. It depends on the moon cycles. Leo.
I think Virgo is pretty patient too.
Yeah, Virgo could be patient. In my experience, Leo also has that patient side to them. I guess it depends on other placements as well. But yes, but once that temper flares, it's that bull,
right.
That symbol of the bull is no joke.
I mean that bull's the bull. Yeah. Listen, I consider myself, pretty influential, and I have been known to, I'm influential since I was a kid. But the Taurus has been one of the hardest people for me to convince to do things. Because it's not even about me. It's fact they're just not gonna, if it's not what they agree with, not how they see it, it doesn't matter how influential they are. They're gonna do what Earth does, follow the routine and schedule.
Yeah. In the chat room, Christy Marie wanted to say hi again.
Hi, Christy.
She really enjoys listening to you. Also, hi, Furious Fragment. Furious Fragment wants to visit Titan, which is one of the moons in Jupiter.
Well, there's 79. There's 79 of them. I hope it's closest one.
But yeah, that what are some of your who are some of your celebrities that are Taurus? Do you know any celebrities that are Taurus?
Al Pacino.
Al Pacino. Ooh.
Al Pacino. And that is a perfect example. You see how he has this demeanor, cool, laid back, cool. Look at The Godfather. Perfect example. Cool and calm until he's not, till you push him. Look at Carlito's Way. You know.
Yeah, those are good. Those are good movies.
Right. You know, they are, you know, they have this, you really can't underestimate them. Devil's Advocate. If you look, the reason why I'm naming all these things that he's been in, is all he comes in calm and then he rises up and gets angry. And Devil's Advocate was calm. It was cool. Come with me.
Yes.
And look at the end scene, right?
Which one?
The end scene at the very end of Devil's Advocate. He was talking to his son.
Yeah.
And that, you know, that's the Taurus. See, the Taurus, they're not, in my experiences and from an astrological perspective, depending on what's in their chart, they're not too manipulative, you know. They're just stubborn, but they're not going to try to finesse you, you know. They're not going to force their way into your world. That's just not the Taurus way, you know. They will express how they feel. They're not necessarily going to chase you, you know what I'm saying? Because they don't want you to interrupt their rhythm as well. You know, they're not like the Aries, you know, or the Sag who, you know, the next adventure is just, you can't wait. The Taurus is kind of comfortable with the regular Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday thing. You know what I'm saying? Now, they still want you to, this is the kicker. I don't want to be, you know, they don't necessarily want you to be boring though. See, that's what people misunderstand. I like the things to be consistent, but you can do things consistently without being necessarily boring. You know, so if Monday is the day that we cook, right, together, me being the Taurus woman, right, we don't cook the same meal every Monday together. We spice things up. You know, you have to have finesse with Taurus, but you have to add things that appeal to the senses. You know, but you can keep the same continuity and still attract them.
I see. Yeah.
Well, with Scorpio, go ahead.
I was gonna mention one more. The Rock. I know the Rock. The Rock is
Right.
also a Taurus native.
Mm-hmm.
But his appeal to Venus is different. Like that swag, that elegance. When Al Pacino is different. Like there's two different types of Tauruses. Am I right?
Well, this is the thing. The Rock's father used to be a famous wrestler, Rocky Johnson. So The Rock was already in the spotlight from a very, very young age. Al Pacino's, you know, from New York, you know, he's in theater. The Rock already had the persona, you know, because he's already around that spotlight all his life. So what you're looking at is also the influence that probably came from parenting as well. Because when you're born into celebrity life, you know, you kind of adapt. So now we talk about a social construct now, you know, and The Rock, stature-wise, you know, he's tall, you know, he's muscular. He has certain standards that are popular as far as women being attracted to him. So that also would feed in to a little bit of his swagger and demeanor, because if women find you attractive and you believe what they're saying because you think that you are, you will socially adapt to that as well. But look who his friend, one of his best friends is Kevin Hart. You know what I'm saying? I think is a Cancer, if I'm not mistaken. You know?
Yeah.
And they click. You know what I'm saying? And they don't believe it. You know, so it's like,
well, Taurus and Cancer go really well together.
My point. You know what I'm saying? They click. You know, So he hasn't left his astrological influence. He might even know he even exists. It's just that I think what you're mentioning is more or less the social standpoint of things, and how which may contribute to the in conjunction to the astrological perspective. Because you have, and we don't know what his rising sign. I know what the rock's rising sign is, or his moon sign. But I can see Taurus in him though. If you look at one of his movies, the show that he does on HBO, I forgot the name of it, but he's like a sports agent. He plays a Taurus character to the T. I don't know if you've seen the show on TV, but HBO. It comes on.
Well, that sounds just that in itself sounds very Taurus.
Right. So
just the title of his occupation.
Right. So sometimes, because if you look at it, Larock has been famous for a long time. But look at the keep it simple method. No scandals, no bad press, no drama, accusations of there you go. And guess who's like that as well?
Who?
Al Pacino.
Yeah. Yeah. Very simple. Keep it KIS. Keep it simple.
Keep it simple.
Yeah. One more thing, and then we're gonna just tune out. But if you had to be a matchmaker for Taurus, which two signs would you match them up with, and which two signs will you not match them up with?
I would match them up with Cancer and Virgo. I wouldn't match them up with Sagittarius and Gemini.
Well, that was my mistake with Taurus. I'm a Sag. Venus is Sag.
Yeah. No. That's gonna drive me crazy.
Yeah, I was not consistent with I'm not consistent in my behavior.
Yeah, you're all over the place. Like even Aries, like we'll attract Taurus, but we're not gonna keep them unless we gotta do our chart. If Aries is the rapper, Taurus is the studio. Meaning the studio stays put. It's gonna do what it needs to do. Aries, he can rap in that studio, but he's also rapping other ones too. But the Taurus stay put. He's gonna be that stationary thing, he or she. But longevity. No, it would have to be Taurus and Virgo. I personally think. Virgo and Cancer. I may be, you know what? You said two. Honorable mention, I can add Pisces too.
Really? Why Pisces?
Because first of all, you have mutable water. So the Pisces will know how to, flex, will know how to move itself into a Taurus's world. And I think that even though the Pisces can be a little all over the place sometimes, the common denominator of Pisces is a desire to be loved and a desire to help. And I think Taurus can appreciate that. Remember, they like the simple things. And what's more simple and complex, as I said earlier, than love. So I think they would mesh good.
I don't know. Let me tell you something. Pisces can be pretty flirtatious. Okay. I think a lot of mutable signs can be pretty flirtatious. Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and I don't know if that's going to be good for Taurus.
Well, they're not going to see. That's the thing. The Taurus, Taurus, they don't get a lot of credit. A lot of people talk about other signs a lot. Taurus don't get a lot of credit, in my opinion. They're, like I said, as long as it's not rooted in disrespectful behavior, the Taurus can see it for what it is, as long as it's not disrespectful. The Pisces, if the Taurus is able to consistently wear the Pisces down, like a starfish to a clam. The Pisces, they may be a little bit, flirtatious, but they're gonna go where the love is at, especially if they're a little bit older, when they've been scarred before, because the Pisces is hypersensitive, and they will be attracted to where the love is at, and especially because the Taurus is kind of in the demeanor of brawn, in a sense of strong but quiet, and that's Pisces. That's good for them too, because it's like I want somebody to protect me, but I don't want them to be overbearing and hurtful, like an Aries might be. So it's a good combination of Pisces and Taurus. I think it could work. I hope some of your fans on there have Pisces or Taurus relationships that can help me out on this. But like I said, honorable mention. It was like the third one. I'm not saying rooted in stone, but I think it can mesh.
Well, I actually know a couple, masculine Taurus, and the female is a Pisces. They have their ups and downs, and when they have their downs, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. But when they have their up moments, it's pretty high. But to be fair, the Pisces, she has a Taurus in her birth chart.
Also, it's all about his budget.
Yeah. I have here Thomas Salvador. He agrees with you as far as the temper, and respect. The respect that Taurus just demands respect more than anything. I also have West Side Kids. She or he is asking, what if the Taurus has an Aries in Venus? Okay, so Taurus Sun, Aries in Venus. What do you think the behavior is on for that in relationships?
I think that that has a combination of that's an alpha male all the way.
House of what?
That's an alpha male combination right there.
Alpha male. Oh yeah,
definitely. Big time. That's alpha male. That's alpha male energy, because where the Aries stops, the Taurus picks up. Where the
Aries Let me tell you, I dated somebody with like Aries and Taurus in their chart. It was not a pretty sight. Like their eyes, just their eyes and their looks alone scared me. And I'm a Scorpio, and nothing scares me. Their eyes, their looks scared me. So yeah, I agree with you with the alpha male situation there.
For sure. Anybody else?
I guess that's it. I only have a few people here, but not too many questions at all. If anybody else has any other questions that has to pertain with Taurus or any zodiac sign, let us know now. But there's a lot of playbacks, Riley. So I have people that are playing back the video. Unfortunately, they're not on our time. There's only a few people that are like watching us right now on time. I'll wait a few seconds and see if there's any other questions for Taurus. But for me, Taurus, represents, like when I hear Taurus, when somebody says they have Taurus in their chart, I think, and I hate to have such a stigma behind Taurus, but I the stubbornness comes to mind. I'm like, ooh, you must be one of those stubborn Tauruses automatically, because once they get stubborn, they stay there. Who's worse, Taurus or Scorpio, when it comes to stubbornness, Riley? What do you think?
Well, now that's a good question, because now you're dealing with fixed water versus fixed earth.
Who's more fixed? It's the Taurus, right? Am I right? Taurus.
The Taurus is more fixed than the Scorpio, because the Taurus is fixed earth. So what that represents, they not only are they grounded, because it's earth, they're grounded in their philosophy and their belief system. See, water being an emotion, water can take the form and shape of anything around it and in it. So you can sway emotionally, fix water a little bit easier, than fix earth. Because water, there's different types of water, right? There's rapid, it's calm, it's pool, it's pond. You can get around that, maybe. But the Scorpio is definitely, Scorpio's second place, because a lot of the Scorpio's fixation have to do with trust, where the Taurus fixation has to do with personal belief systems.
Is that where the possessiveness comes in with Taurus? The personal belief system, like everything belongs to them or everyone that they care for or care about.
I'm glad you asked me that question. That is a genius question. The Taurus is not trying to control you necessarily in a negative way. The Taurus is trying to control the environment to keep the continuity of being Earth. For example, when you build houses in areas you're not supposed to, the Earth will clean itself. Tsunami, volcano, whoever it needs to do to keep continuity at any cost. The Earth a volcano is not evil, it's cleansing. Earthquake cleansing, rain recycling. So sometimes the Taurus is controlling to keep the mundane or continuity that it operates on. The problem with that is we're all not Tauruses. And I think that's the problem. The intent is good. But remember though, a lot of that is also can be related to, or first cousin to, just the Scorpio possessiveness as well. Remember, it's your shadow sign. The Scorpio is possessive because they like things a certain way too. Y'all do like things a certain way. That's why I don't trust
no change. No, the change is not good.
Right. And Scorpios, when a Scorpio decides to put you in his or her web, it's because they just trust you enough to be there, to get that close to you. So it's almost kind of selfish. Both of y'all are kind of selfish. Let me tell you why I see that in a way. And when it's a low frequency, because the Scorpio has decided to trust you, right? Because you earn their trust. So now they become possessive and want things the way they want them. They'll be nice to you, sex, treat you good. But it's because now I've let you in my world as a Scorpio. I don't really want you to leave because I don't want you in my world. So I'm not trying to have you go too far. Because why? Because now I trust you. Now that's contingent that they trust you. If it's a one night stand, if it's the chart, like your chart may be out of Sag and Capricorn in the chart. If it's the chart influence, it could sway that belief system. But the Scorpio, remember, when the Scorpio decides to put you in their world, it's because they feel connected to you. But there's a rule of thumb, and it has to be on the ground. It has to be on a certain confine that they believe in. Because guess what? Emotionally, I'm fixing for Scorpio, it's into you. They're into you. They're into you, and they're heavily into you. But the contingency of me being into you is I got to keep you close because I trusted you. So you owe me for trusting. You owe me for trusting you.
I can't.
You owe me for trusting you. You ever watch Martin Lawrence Thin Line Between Love and Hate?
Yeah.
You watched it, right?
Yes. Are you talking about the woman?
She's actually a Taurus in real life.
Oh, that's right. She is. That's right.
Lynn Whitfield. So you see how even the character, you know, that Scorpio, Taurus, is in them. Like, I don't want to get involved. I'm a slow starter. I don't want to get involved. Leave me alone. I'm not interested. But you push and push and push. All right, now I'm in. Now you don't want me anymore. Now you disrespect me. Here it comes. You see that? See that whole energy right there?
Yes. I'm not gonna lie, that part really scares me, of that Taurus part. I mean, because they're so fixated, you know, they could get fixated, and I mean that in a good way, you know, that there's some bad ways about that fixation that they need to control that part.
Yes. But that's the whole thing. If you didn't have Taurus people, you probably wouldn't get your check on time. We need them. They're the ones. I'm telling you, they're the ones that are gonna get the job done. You wanna be a CEO? You wanna be a boss? You wanna make your company go to the next level? You gotta have a Taurus weighing your spot. You got to have a Taurus. You're not. I mean, because there's certain things that I know for me, I could be all over the place sometimes, and I know myself enough to know I will hire a Taurus to do what I need done, because I know I'm not going to be that consistent in that regard. I'm going to be able to create the ideas to create the company. I'm going to hire a Taurus to run it. Vice President,
I agree.
CEO. You know what I'm saying?
I did say they have amazing work ethics, and you know, they represent the house of income. So I mean, hell yeah, I would hire a Taurus. Or whatever, you know, I would work for a Taurus.
Right.
You know, whatever, it is what it is.
But I mean, as a Scorpio, you know, I'm being very vague with you guys because I don't want to say too much, because I know we're coming up to you guys very soon, a couple 2-3 weeks. So I'm not getting into y'all yet. But when it's go time with you, I'm gonna let you guys. I'm gonna really talk about you guys.
I know. But on that note, we're going to talk about Gemini next. Okay, so you know, Riley and I will get together soon to talk about Gemini, all about Gemini. Let's talk all about Gemini. Okay.
Yes.
Do you have a title that we could maybe go by for now? Like,
for Gemini?
It doesn't have to be concrete, but I would love to hear a title that you have for Geminis.
A title for Gemini.
A title for Let's Talk About Geminis.
Who are we gonna be today?
You know, it's so funny. Over the Christmas holiday, I met a Gemini, and he's just he's a friend of the family. And you know, I mean, we hit it off immediately because, you know, I didn't know at the time, but he's a Gemini. So, you know, he kept saying, like, he kept asking me what was my name, and I told him about 10 times what my name was. I don't understand, but I was just like, my name is, you know, what's your name again? What's your name again? What's your name again? And so finally, you know, during dinner, we sat down at my brother's house, and we started talking. He told me all about his life, and he felt very comfortable telling me about his personal life. You know, but never once did I think that you know, I'm talking to a Gemini, because Geminis do have the gift of gab, no?
Oh, yes. Yes.
So it wasn't until the very end that I started talking about astrology, and I found out that he's a Gemini. But he felt very comfortable with me and telling me about his personal life, and I said, well, let me tell you something about yourself. You have two sides to yourself. What I'm seeing right now is an amazing side. You know, it's a side that you're showing me where we're talking one-on-one. You could be personal, you could be interpersonal, you could be impersonal. It doesn't matter. You love people around you. Your community is important. Your family is important. But then there's this other side to him where he's trying to control, and I didn't know this until later on when somebody really close to him told me about his life, because he didn't tell me this part. He didn't, and not that I asked him about this, his personal life has a lot to do, unfortunately, with the streets, violent behavior. He's been in and out of jail. So here it is, I'm talking to this wonderful person that had an amazing conversation, very intelligent, very when it came to his communication, he was very what do you call that? Like that goes a back and forth conversation. But then there's this other side of him that will knock somebody out in a minute, lose their temper, and go to jail for it in a second. So it was just double. I was like, you need to control your other twin.
No, go ahead. Apologize.
No, that's okay. But I was just, I was telling him about his Gemini, and that's, and he realized that it, and you know what he told me? He was like, I'm trying to control that other side. I'm still working on that twin.
Well, because now you're dealing with mutable air, which is a whole, mutable air is actually the air that, on an earthly plane that we have a certain access to. But we'll get into that. But question, are we going to do Gemini or are we going to do Cancer? I thought we were going in order.
Gemini's next.
It's third? I thought it was fourth.
Cancer is the fourth house.
We're doing the third next week. We're on the third.
Yeah, that's Gemini.
Oh wow, I'm bugging out. Oh, because head, throat.
So we have fire, earth, air, water. Then again, fire, earth, air, water.
Apologies. I thought we were doing it according to the body, because head, throat, breast. Although we're going down. You got it. We good.
Yeah, no, but Gemini is the third sign in the zodiac wheel.
In hands.
And then Cancer, and then Leo, and then Virgo.
Oh, I thought. You know what? I'm thank you for the save, because I actually thought that I must have forgot. I thought that Cancer came before Gemini. I don't know why I thought that. And maybe I was doing breast before hands, because
you were on a different thinking
Aries,
level.
Taurus, Cancer, whatever.
That's okay.
All right.
Yeah, obviously we're gonna get into Cancer. Yes, right after Gemini. Absolutely.
Got it.
All right. Thanks, Riley, again.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Yes. All right. We'll see you guys next time. All right.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.